I'm TR-. This video is a little bit more of a rant about 3 things I see in games that really grinds my gears. It annoys me that people don't call these out, and all 3 of these are obvious cash grabs, but some are a little bit more hidden and players tend not to realize that it's done solely to suck resources out of them. If you see these, it doesn't necessarily mean that the game is bad outright, but generally just seeing one of these is an indication of bigger problems. Often, these make the game less fun long term and less likely to have players continue coming back. If I see these in a game, I'm always more critical of the game, and you should be too. Today I'll explain the red flag, why the devs do this, I'll give you some examples, and I'll tell you how it hurts my experience personally. The first one I want to talk about is the grind. This is really quite common, and players sometimes don't realize that games are made intentionally grindy. The first stipulation is that not every game is a money-grubbing, grindy game. A game being grindy is fine. There are lots of examples of games where you're expected to spend a lot of time building up to something or learning how to fight a boss. Dark Souls, Cuphead, you're expected to try over and over for hours. The Legend of Zelda, Assassin's Creed, where you're going to spend a lot of time doing side missions or quests. These are actual games that take a long time, but they're not grind games. A grind game is when the game has an actually fun part, but then adds barriers to entry to that fun section with the sole intention of limiting access through a cost, being time or money. Usually both. The absolute worst part, though, is when a dev adds ways for players to pay to skip the grind. It's an indication that the dev's love of money has interfered with creating a fair, fun game, and that tells you everything you need to know about the game's integrity.
The reason games do this is solely to get money or time out of you. No matter how fun the game actually is, if you spend a lot of time playing it, the game looks good to people who haven't tried it yet, incentivizing them to try the game. If you spend money to skip the grind, the devs outright earn cash. In both scenarios, the dev profits, but the player suffers. The first example I've got for you are tycoon games. Tycoons are one of the most common examples of grind games. You pay to skip the grind and actually enjoy the game. You start out, it's fun, but slowly your cash gets less and less valuable. Items are more expensive, and then they smother you with all of these 2 times cash, buy extra droppers, buy admin, buy autocollect. They want you to spend $5 so you can actually enjoy the 30 minutes of game that the game offers. Just look at the game passes in these type of games. Any game with more than a full row of these grind skip game passes will never be something you'll enjoy long term. They'll continually add more and more ways to suck money out of you. The worst part, though, is when they start to leave the realm of pay to skip and bleeds into our next section, which is pay to win. You probably knew this was coming. Pay to win is when you can purchase buffs, boost, armor, and weapons that specifically give you an edge over other players. Pay to win is also very well known and commonly talked about, and the reason why is because it is so common. It happens all the time. Devs trying to get you to buy their Game Pass or Deluxe Pack that comes with the best weapon in the game or whatever. It's especially prevalent in free-to-play games since there's all the more reason for devs to ask for money. That is their business model after all. And I understand why it's so common. I mean, devs still want to be paid. It's not really feasible for a game to have no microtransactions, but the best games are the ones where paying for things only gets you cosmetics. Actual buffs for cash is almost guaranteeing that your game will not hold up long term. I'll skip over pay to win, as you likely already know what it is, and I'll dive into the next section. The next section is a subsection of pay to win, but in my opinion, it's even more evil. I hate this so much that if I see this in a game, I will straight up Alt F4, no questions asked. It's becoming stupidly common, and it's frustrating because people don't really seem to call it out. I hate this, and I cannot believe communities tolerate this system, and that is gambling. Gambling, RNG systems, rolling systems, all of it. When I load into a game and I see race rolls, clan rolls, ability rolls, abysmal item drop chances, 9 times out of 10, that game is dead on arrival. And it's strangely common, especially with anime games. Devs do it because it makes money. It's a lot easier for a player to rationalize spending 150 Robux on the chance to get that 0.0001 6 eyes white dragon Sharingan than it is for them to spend 6,000 Robux guaranteeing it. But if you do the math, most of the time it'll cost so much money in order to reach those odds. The most recent one I can think of is Jujutsu Infinite. I was hyped as shit for this game. The intro lets you play, and that shit actually seemed fun and unique. I load in and I see the fucking 3 for 3, bro. Heavenly Restriction Game Pass that's like $20, and that's the only way to get Heavenly Restriction. There's Jujutsus, but they're all locked behind fucking rolls, and the lowest one, Special Grade, is a 0.25% chance. There's Game Passes in the store, times 2 cash, times 2 EXP, times 2 mastery, and none of them are permanent. They're all fucking limited. And a skip spins Game Pass. That is the cherry on top. Piece of advice for anyone. If you go to a Game Pass section of any game and you see a fucking skip spins Game Pass, that game will not be enjoyable long term because it's so clear that they have made that spin longer just so they can add that, you know, 150 Robux Game Pass so you'll buy it and skip the spins. It's so obviously a cash grab, it hurts. To round this off, I want to talk about some of the misconceptions people have with these kinds of systems. I don't think all of these systems are always bad, but they are indications of bigger problems. Recently, I was talking about this with my brother, and he told me, well, don't you like YBA? That has RNG. And this kind of blew my mind because I can't really imagine how somebody equates these two RNG systems. They are both RNG, but they're not even in the same universe of cash grab intensity. I'll cover YBA in a second, but first I want to go back to what I was talking about at the beginning, which was grind games. Cleaning Simulator is a game I enjoyed a lot in 2017, and I even just played it recently just to gather some footage. The goal of the game is to go around this building and literally mop the floors and clean up messes. That is the definition of a grind. But the difference between this grind game and another game like Jujutsu Infinite, the grind is the time and the stuff that you can do outside of the grind. Yes, the game Cleaning Simulator is about cleaning a building, but if you're really efficient about it, it only takes like 30 minutes max. Everything else, all the other time that you'll take to do the cleaning is messing around with your friends, finding hidden things. You're, finding the tape, you're getting the badges. You're doing all of these very fun things, and the grind only takes so long. It is not the mainstay of the game. If you want to goof around for 2 hours, you can. Look at the time it takes you to get from level 0 to max level in any game and contemplate if that's a reasonable amount of time for someone to learn all of the systems in that game. YBA, it took 8 hours, I'll say, to get from level 0 to Prez 3 level 50, if you had a rough idea of what you were doing. 2 hours is like an experienced player speedrunning the game. I googled some speedruns for other games. Blox Fruits, 22 hours of this motherfucker's life spent grinding this game, after which he can actually say, oh, I can start playing Blox Fruits. Do you genuinely think Blox Fruits is complex enough of a game to require 22 hours of your attention to fully understand? No! It's only there to get you to pay to level up faster. People have forgotten why games have a grind. The grind is there to teach you. In YBA, the grind shows you the skill tree, it shows you stands, it shows you how items can be picked up, used, and sold, and it shows you people using abilities. I will always respect OG YBA for having that Pessy boss, because when he kicked my ass for the first time I went in, I said, God damn, maybe this stand doesn't suck. When you're playing a game, think about whether or not the grind is still teaching you new things, or if it just feels like it's there to take more time than necessary so that you'll keep playing the game or you'll spend money to skip it. As for RNG, YBA, again, they have 24 stands. That is the main RNG of YBA, right? You roll arrows to get stands. Stands have varying chances, but adding RNG is a way to standardize the obtainment of those stands. It wouldn't make sense to have a unique system for each. The biggest difference is the RNG systems of YBA compared to a game like Jujutsu Infinite, Locked, Shindo Life. In YBA, the financial incentive wasn't there. You can roll for stands with arrows for free. There's not really a way to skip that grind. In fact, the two pay-to-win things in the shop, the stand rolls and the EXP boost for 10 minutes, are not even that good. If you're buying those, it's basically useless. I would say it's even a detriment to roll with Robux because it doesn't give you a stand that you really want. The buff it does give you is to your skin chances, and skins are purely cosmetic. That's the only thing. And in the actual rolling, the action of rolling, the lowest chance in YBA is about 1%, and the highest is like 11%. It is not equitable to Jujutsu Infinite having like a 70% chance for commons and a 20% chance for uncommons. Like 70%. Think about how often that is. It's so obviously done just to get more rolls out of you. The common stands in YBA 2 were decent. Jujutsu Infinite's common abilities suck ass. And that is one of the clearest indications that they just want you to grind. Do the rolls, spend money. That is the biggest thing to think about. YBA spoiled me. The grind is under 6 hours. The Robux is only for minor conveniences or cosmetics. Most RNG systems in the game make sense and they don't cost Robux. Battlegrounds games have recently proved that a game can have zero grind, zero tutorial, and people will still play it if it's fun. Every time you see these features in-game, think about whether it's something that adds to the game and improves the experience, or if it's a clear sign that the devs were just trying to get more money. Think to yourself, was this added for the love of money?